Hi everybody, it's Rebecca Virginia, and today is going to be my last DIY video for 2022. I'll be showing you some winter-themed and snowman-style DIYs that are perfect to leave up all winter long, even into those colder months of January and February. Let's jump into the first DIY. So in a couple of my DIYs today, we are going to be using some socks from the Dollar Tree. They are just a really easy way to create a snowman. So first off, I turned my sock inside out, and then I'm going to be cutting at the heel. And when you turn the sock inside out, it has this really cute kind of fuzzy texture that looks very adorable on the snowman. So that's why I did that. Then I took some of these marbles that I got at the Dollar Tree and put these down in the bottom of our sock snowman. And this is going to be what weights him down so that he can stand up on his own. I filled the sock up with some pillow stuffing, and then to tie up the top, I just used one of these clear elastic hair ties. And then I took a piece of a fleece that I had left over from some sewing projects, and I just wrapped that around what I want to be his head. And these ornaments from the Dollar Tree are so perfect for snowman. I'm going to be using it actually twice in today's video, and for this first one, I am actually going to be putting it on a wood dowel. I just cut down a wood dowel from the Dollar Tree, put that into the hat, and then opened up the top of my snowman and stuck the hat down. You are going to need just a little bit of hot glue to make sure the hat stays in place, and then we can move on to our snowman's face. For the snowman's eyes, I took these gold push pins and just cut off the pokey part so that it was just more like a button, and used a black Sharpie to paint it black. And then for my snowman's nose, I took some of the earplugs from the Dollar Tree and just cut one of the earplugs into this carrot shape and hot glued it on there. It was the perfect shade of orange, so it was great to use that instead of drawing on my snowman's nose. For his arms, I just grabbed some twigs from outside, and what I'm doing is snipping a small hole in the side of our snowman. And then when I put the stick in his side, I am going to use a little bit of hot glue to not only hold the stick in place, but also to close up around the hole that I made in the sock. And now I'm going to take a brief break from the snowman and focus on the scene that he is going to be placed in. So I'm taking one of these wood trays from the Dollar Tree and some brown stain, and I am just staining the entire wood tray. Then I got these wood snowmen for the holidays at the Dollar Tree, and I thought I would just use them as they're intended, as, you know, painting them like a snowman. But I thought that they would make amazing legs to go on the bottom of this. So first I am staining all of them, and it's a little bit difficult, so I definitely got very messy because there are so many little grooves in this snowman. So I really had to use my fingers and get messy there. But after I stained all 4 snowman and let those dry, I am then going to be hot gluing them onto the bottom section of our wood tray, and the snowman, when they're upside down, look like amazing furniture legs for this wood tray. I didn't love the cutout stars on the sides of this wood tray, so to cover those up, I got some snowflakes from the Dollar Tree. They came in a large pack, and I just hot glued those to cover up the stars. Now that the wood tray is complete, it's time to start filling up our scene. So first off, I placed in our snowman because we're really going to be building the scene around him. Then I took some of this pillow filler. I had a large bag of it that I got at Joann's Fabric, but you can always take apart an old pillow or head on over to Joann's. It's not that expensive, and you can get a large pack of it to use for all your future projects too. I placed this down so it would look like snow or ice, and then this large pick I got from the Dollar Tree in one of their floral arrangements, and I hot glued that to the front of the wood tray. And then I added one of these little chalkboard tags from the Dollar Tree with a snowflake sticker. And of course, because the snowman is magical, he does not have to worry about melting from this little tea light fire. So I placed that to the side of him. I thought it was a cute touch. And then as the final piece, I had this kind of icicle. I wasn't even sure what it's from. I've had it in my storage for a pretty long time. It must have come off some floral pick, and I thought this would look like ice, so I just laid this down over the snowman scene to complete it. The next snowman DIY is a faux birchwood snowman, and the best part of it is there is no paint involved. For this DIY, I'm taking one of the pool noodles from the Dollar Tree, and I cut it into 3 different sections, all getting a little bit smaller in length. Then I've seen some DIYs where you can make the faux birchwood snowman using a painting technique and tissues, but I really didn't have the time to be spending on all of that painting and that technique. So I decided that I was just going to take this birchwood paper that I got at Hobby Lobby and cover the pool noodles. So you'll see to cover the end parts of the noodles, I just traced out a circle, and then I just used a glue stick to adhere that down onto our pool noodle. Then I measured out, just by wrapping the paper around the pool noodle, how long and how wide of paper that I would need to fit each noodle. And to get it to stick to the pool noodle, I am taking some Mod Podge and just placing the pool noodle onto the paper and slowly rolling it up. My pool noodle sizes were 4, 6, and 8 inches, but you can make this smaller or much larger. It really just depends on your preference. And I am once again on the last 2 pieces of pool noodle, applying the Mod Podge and then rolling the paper onto the noodle. Once the Mod Podge is all dried, it's time to start stacking together our snowman. And I did this by just putting down some hot glue and placing the noodles on top of one another. Once they are stacked on top of one another, you will notice that it's unable to stand up on its own. So to fix this, I took 2 pieces of garland from the Dollar Tree garland picks and just wove them together, and this is going to create a little barrier around our snowman to help him stand up. I folded a sock down in half to create our snowman's hat. This is one of the Snugadoo socks from the Dollar Tree. And then I placed that over about 3/4 of our top pool noodle. For the snowman's arms, I grabbed some twigs from outside and some hot glue to place them on the side of his body. They were able to hold up with the hot glue. I just had to hold them until the glue dried. Then for his eyes, I just went in with a black marker and some orange paint for his nose. Next, I went back in with that paint marker and added a smile to him. And for his coat buttons, I took some real black buttons and applied that with some hot glue. Lastly, I placed him back into his garland so that he could stand up and added 2 little pine cones from a floral pick to the side of his garland. I hate to play favorites in my DIY videos, but I think this adorable sock snowman on a sled has got to be my favorite in this entire video. I started off this DIY by staining one of the wood sleds from the Dollar Tree. Then you're going to need 2 socks. So that extra portion that we didn't use in our first DIY is going to be what you need for this one. But in case you decided not to do the first DIY, I'll just pretend that we are starting new. So you're going to cut off the sock at the heel and you're going to be using the longer portion. Then that top band around the sock, kind of what makes it like a tube sock, you're going to cut off. We'll be using that in just a bit. And then I'm going to bunch the sock up at the top and secure it together with a clear elastic before flipping it inside out. Just like we did in our first DIY, I'm filling it with these glass marbles from the Dollar Tree so that it can stand on its own, and then filling it with some pillow filling before bunching it together and tying it off with another clear elastic. To make a more distinct area between the snowman's head and his body, I took a rubber band and wrapped it around twice. And now we're going to move on to making our snowman hat. This is when we're going to need that top 2 portion of the sock as well as the top portion of another sock. I chose this black one, and this is going to be our hat. So I'm bunching it together at the top, and you guessed it, taking another clear elastic to secure it in place. And then as the cuff on the hat, I'm going to be taking that tube sock portion and pulling that down, and that's going to create the brim of his little hat. And you could just leave the clear elastic as what's holding his hat together, but I wanted to make it a little bit more rustic and cute, so I wrapped some jute around the top and tied a bow. Next, I moved onto his scarf, and his scarf is actually just some scrap fabric that I had. Thought it was very cute and went with the snowman Christmas theme, so I just wrapped that a bunch of times around between his head and his body, and then I just tied it off and trimmed any of the excess. So for his face, I'm doing the exact same thing as I did on my previous sock snowman. I'm taking the push pins, I markered them with some black marker, and then I also used the earplug as a nose. But you will notice in the later clips, I decided I wasn't really feeling the face. It was very cute, but I wanted this to be a bit more timeless and rustic, so I did end up removing his face, but you can choose, you can leave it on, or you could go like me and also just have a blank face snowman, but I did add some little jingle bells that I painted brown onto his body, and then I used some floral pick as an arm, and as his hand, I stained one of my wood stars. And I'm using the same technique as the twigs though, hot gluing it on after I have snipped a little hole in the side of my snowman, and then hot gluing it and pinching the side closed over his arm. Next, it was time to decorate the sled, and I did this by taking 2 of the garland picks from the Dollar Tree and hot gluing those on top. I also hot glued a little pine cone to the side of the sled, and I took another twig and hot glued that to my other side of my snowman so that his arm was out, and then I could place the reins of the sled right on top of his arm so it really looked like he was driving the sled. My next DIY is a super quick and easy one, and it is making a snowman out of a wine glass. Originally, I was going to do this project by painting the inside of my wine glass white, which you could still do, but I forgot that I had this cool fake snow, so I decided to use that instead. So I'm taking some of my spray adhesive, spraying all around the inside of the wine glass, and then taking this faux snow and just sprinkling that around the inside of our wine glass to make it white and give that snowy effect for our snowman's face. But again, if you didn't want to do this step, it is a little bit messy just because you're using the spray adhesive. You could always just paint the inside with some white paint. And I also did the same to the bottom area of our snowman, lightly spraying it this time and putting a bit of a lighter coat so that our wine glass could still stand up on its own. I moved on to painting our snowman's face, and the only difficult part here is because it's a wine glass, it was kind of rolling around on me, so that's why I placed ribbons on either side of it so it wouldn't move around quite as much. And I just used paint. You could use a paint pen or a marker as well, but I didn't have any in this orange color, so I just wound up making my snowman's face using paint and this dotting tool. For his hat, I took another one of these hat ornaments from the Dollar Tree. They are so great if you're going to be making a lot of snowman projects. Definitely pick up a couple. And I put some hot glue down on the top of my wine glass and then popped the hat on. For the last step in our snowman wine glass, I took some red and black buffalo check ribbon from, of course, the Dollar Tree and made a bow and then hot glued it onto the stem of our wine glass. Next is a DIY that I saw last year but just ran out of time to complete it, so when the holiday season came around, I knew I had to make this snow baby. Alright, so we're going to be making a quick and easy, adorable snow baby. So I started with these white ornaments from the Dollar Tree. It came 2 in a pack, but I'll just be showing you how to make one snow baby, but you can make as many as you want. And then these really cute Snugadoo fuzzy baby socks. So you saw that I took the ornament section out of the actual ornament, and then I just popped the baby sock onto the ornament a little bit lower in the back and higher in the front. And because it was this fuzzy fleece material, I did have to hot glue it down onto the ornament in a couple places. Then I took some of this green yarn and I tied it around the top area of the ornament so you can kind of start to see the hat getting formed. And I made a loop in the back, and that's what I'll use to hold it on my Christmas tree. Then it was time to make the face, and I kept it a pretty traditional snowman looking face, just using black paint and orange paint. And my dotting tool, I got this one off Amazon, but I have seen the Dollar Tree start to sell them. And to kind of cover up a little bit of the green yarn, I wanted my snow baby to have a little white bow. So I just grabbed some ribbon and made a quick bow. And then to create the fun part of the winter hat, I just got my scissors and started cutting it down so that it was a floppy winter hat. Looks great hanging off the Christmas tree, but you can also leave it up all winter long. During Halloween, the Dollar Tree came out with these signs. They were 2 in a pack. So I just covered this using some really cute snowman scrapbooking paper that I grabbed from Hobby Lobby. Then I took one of these snowman wood ornaments from the Dollar Tree and I decorated it with paint, some burlap fabric, gave him a scarf, and also a couple of embellishments. Planning on hanging this off my office doorknob during the winter season, but for now I'll be hanging it on my Christmas tree, but either way it needs a tie. So I grabbed some blue ribbon and that's what I'll be using to hang it. This is a snowman muffin tin, and I am planning to leave this up all winter long. I hate taking down the Christmas decorations, but it's always fun when you get to put up some cute snowmen. I started off this DIY by grabbing one of the muffin tins from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be using paint, cinnamon, and Mod Podge on this. So first, I grabbed some sandpaper and just roughed up the surface a little bit. Now I'm moving on to creating a faux rusting effect. Now you could just take a muffin tin that you have around your house if it is rusty, but I didn't have one, so we're going to create the effect of rust because I don't have the months and time it would take for this to actually rust on its own. So to create this, I took cinnamon, Mod Podge, and a bit of brown paint. I don't know if you could tell, but I accidentally spilled the entire thing almost of cinnamon. Luckily, this was cinnamon from the Dollar Tree and it was a pretty big container, but I did not mean to spill that much. You don't need that much cinnamon. That was definitely on accident. And what you're gonna do, I found that taking a paintbrush and using a stippling method creates the best faux rusty effect. And what I'm doing to create the effect is I'm dipping my paintbrush in the paint Mod Podge mixture, and then I am dipping it in the dry cinnamon and then just going ahead and stippling it all over the muffin tin, really concentrating in the edges because I think that's where rust would naturally start to grow, on the edges of the muffin tin. And then for aesthetic purposes, I'm going a little bit inside the muffin tin. We'll be painting the bottom section to look like a snowman, but around the edges, I wanted that to have some definition, so I added a bit of that faux rust to that area as well. Next, it's time for what I think is the most fun part of this DIY, and that's beginning to create our snowmen. So I took one of these small sponge brushes from the Dollar Tree and some white paint, and I'm just swirling it on the inside of this muffin tin. And I'm not being precise, I'm being kind of messy because I want this to look very homemade and rustic looking, so I don't want clean edges. I just kind of swirled the paint around. You can kind of see a little bit on the video, but I did go in with just my index finger and a little bit of pink paint, and I went and made one small little dot to kind of be blush on the snowman's cheeks, but it's very, very faint. You can't see it too much. Then I went back in with my detailing tool. It's a dotter tool. You can pick them up at the Dollar Tree. They sell them now. And I went in with black paint, and then in just a moment I'll be going in with orange paint. And I'm just using this to create the dot eyes for my snowman and their smiling faces. And then I went back in with the exact same tool and some orange paint to create the noses. And for the noses, I made them a lot longer and more exaggerated than I usually do. I wanted them to have a bit larger noses in this DIY. So I just had a lot of fun putting them in all sorts of different directions, looking different ways, and finishing off our snowman muffin tin on the inside before we move on to the details that are going to be going on top of it. I added a couple of different embellishments to the top of this muffin tin, but first I took a bunch of these garland picks from the Dollar Tree and kind of created what I called a crown. I ended up using 4 different garland picks to create this arrangement that I hot glued at the top of the muffin tin. And I'm going to be having this up probably all January and February in the winter months. So I wanted to add in some of these snow-covered branches to bring in some of that icy, snowy winterness from outside. And then I added 2 bells that have snowflakes on them to the lower center portion. And I also took 2 cinnamon sticks. I got these in a pack at the grocery store, and I just hot glued those on opposite ends of our topper. And as the final touch, I made a bow out of raffia, and I kept the ends pretty long because I do want it to hang down, so I just hot glued that at a slight angle in the center. If you're planning on just propping this DIY up on your kitchen counter, then you would be done. But I think I'm going to hang this off of one of my kitchen cupboard knobs. So to do that, I took some of this gold wire that I had and I just made it a double so it was a little bit stronger and made a loop and then hot glued it to the back of the muffin tray. And then once that dried, it was perfect and could hang really easily off of my kitchen cupboards. For our next kitchen DIY, we have this adorable hanging gingerbread man. Alright, so for this next DIY, we're going to be using the foam gingerbread men from the Dollar Tree. And I took the foam and traced it out onto some cardboard. You could use maybe a box that you got in the mail, just peel off one of the sides of it and you can use that. So I cut that out so it was in the gingerbread shape, and then I just took my glue stick, and really the foam gingerbread was more so as a stencil, but I am going to put this on the back of my sign. But if you're going to be hanging it, you don't really need to have anything on the back of the sign because you won't be able to see it, because what's actually going to be the front is this really pretty 12 days of Christmas scrapbooking paper I got at Hobby Lobby that has the red music notes on it, and I went ahead and took the glue stick and glued that down too. Then I really want to hang this in my kitchen off one of my cabinets, so I grabbed my red and white baker's twine that I have from the Dollar Tree, and I kind of made a mistake because I should have put it down before I put the foam gingerbread guy on there, but it was okay. It was only using the glue stick, so it was easy to peel that back and then stick the baker's twine down on there so that I can have something for it to hang off of. Next, I'm going in with some of this white yarn that I have, and I thought it was great not only because it kind of made it look like icing going all the way around our gingerbread man, but also because it was a really great way to cover up and hide any of the cardboard that might have been peeking through on the sides, or if I didn't cut absolutely perfectly, it was a really great way to just disguise any of the cardboard that might have been peeking through. Because this is a kitchen DIY video, I not only wanted to have a gingerbread man sign, but I really wanted it to look like a gingerbread cookie. So to add some faux sugar onto my gingerbread man, I took some of this fake snow and I just took the glue stick that I had been using earlier and placed it down on the front of our gingerbread man. And then I sprinkled the glitter on top and kind of pressed it a little just to make sure that it would stay in place. And then I waited about 30 minutes just to make sure that all of the glue was dry. And then I just shook off the gingerbread man in case any of the excess glitter came off. For a couple of embellishments on our gingerbread man, I took this little floral pick with berries and I added a little bit of white paint so it looked like it had been out in the snow. And then I took two of these jingle bells and I gave them a little bit more of a rustic touch by adding some brown paint. Then I went in and added the floral pick kind of like where his bow tie would be, and then I added the two jingle bells down at the center of him. Buttons would also work as a substitute for the jingle bells, or I know that they make some of those buttons that look like food shapes, so if you had those, that would be really cute to add to this adorable kitchen DIY too. This DIY is a super easy one, but I had to include it because what is a baking themed DIY video if I am not decorating one of my mini rolling pins? Like I said, this one's super easy. I took one of the mini wood rolling pins that I got in a pack at Hobby Lobby, and I just painted the center rolling area white and then the handles in a dark brown. And then I have this really cute snowman scrapbooking paper that I also got at, I believe, Hobby Lobby. And I just cut this to size and I am wrapping it around the rolling pin. I love doing these rolling pins for all different seasons, so I tend to just tape them together rather than hot glue or Mod Podge, because then for the next season I will unwrap this and rewrap it to go with that season. So it's a good way to make an interchangeable DIY that you can use over and over again. And for the bow on this one, I picked this checkered red and white ribbon. I thought it looked very kitchen-esque and also kind of fit with the holidays. And then maybe if I leave this up throughout the winter, I will change it to a white sparkly bow to kind of go more with the snowy winter theme. The last DIY in today's video is a snowman tag. You could put this on your tree as an ornament or just use it as a decor piece. The base for this DIY is actually a USA tag that I got all the way back during the 4th of July season, and I've been hanging on to it for the perfect DIY. I grabbed some white paint and just went over it so you wouldn't be able to see the USA and the stars. I did have to do a couple of coats of this because those were kind of shining through. Next, we're going to make our snowman's hat. I'm using some painter's tape and black paint to create the top layer of his hat. Then I went in with some more painter's tape and red paint to act as the brim of his hat. Then once that was dried and I peeled away those pieces of painter's tape, I was moving on to a little bit more of a 3D version of his hat. I had some Amazon boxes that I got some deliveries in, so I made that into a strip of some corrugated cardboard, and I painted that black to go with the top of his hat, and then I hot glued it right underneath that red section. The next part was creating our snowman's face, and I did this just using paint, black, pink, and of course orange for the nose. I'm using one of the dotting tools from the Dollar Tree to create all of those finer details of his face. Then I went in with some of these puffy window clings. I liked the holly one and thought it went perfectly with his hat, so I placed that down on top. And then I had this holly jolly transfer, so I rubbed that on to transfer it to our hat. And the last step was taking a bit of jute and creating a loop at the back so that I could transform it into an ornament if I wanted to, or just leave it as a Christmas decor piece. Thanks so much for watching me and supporting my channel all year long. I will be back in January 2023 with some brand new DIY and decor videos. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all of you, and I'll see you next year.